Hello. Hi there, folks. Another.
Just take the microphone, Sergio.
Take the mic.
I turn that one off later because I don't like it that much.
Hi, folks. My name is Sergio Calabria. I work in Ballyfermot College of Further Education. I'm also a VR, I guess, aficionado or whatnot. I teach and coordinate the course in games design. So I come more from a, even though I'm a computer science graduate, I come more from a design background. And I guess I can't code too well. I can't draw or make 3D models too well. So design is the only path left. But I have been a gamer for a long time, and I've been successful enough at applying these skills to what I teach. I've been in QA and localization for years with Vivendi, and gave a go at doing some Java games product management in the J2ME days, and that didn't go too far, but the company closed down, and luckily enough I had gone back to academia when that happened. So I'm still teaching 15 years later in Ballyfermot College of Further Education. We've just launched a game design degree in the last few years off a piggyback of the animation degree. So some of you might know Ballyfermot as a school of animation. We've kind of slowly built our games design angle. Being the coordinator, I got to spend a little bit of minuscule amounts of cash, I guess, compared to DCU UCD. And I got a little bit of hardware that I had to put to a test. So the project that I'm going to show you today was mainly a tech demo to try and use these various little bits of hardware that I had got to college to buy. So there is a 3D Connection 3D mouse. The Leap Motion, some of you might know about. It's two infrared cameras with some infrared lights. There is an image capturing, infrared image capture on it, but then there is a whole skeleton tracking for hands that comes off the Leap. So it's not just an infrared camera with infrared LEDs. There is also a whole, I guess, this was not part of what I do not work for any of these companies, so this is just free evangelism, I guess. If any of you, is this going to go well or not? Or maybe we just keep going and then later on we move into the individual pieces of hardware. So eventually, yeah, this is the Leap, this is the device, and that is what it sees, and that is the algorithm part with the hand tracking. It looks very robust, but one would wonder. You could do things with it. It's fun to play with. Commercially, I do not know if they are going to be super successful. Maybe the future generations. The Oculus recently bought Nimble VR, which was basically a Kinect on your, you can see it in the shade here. It's a point of line of sight or time of flight camera that you mount on your Oculus, and it does the same thing. Like, you can actually mount the Leap on the Oculus Rift. So the two infrared cameras are pointing out from where you're looking at. You put your hands up and you've got your markerless hand tracking up to a point. So then the Leap guys launched a competition that was to make something with these devices, and they offered quite substantial amount of money, and I thought, hey, why don't I try and get me some of that money? So I put this little tech demo that I had done as a pitch to the competition, and it got 2 scores. 1.1. I ranked 116 out of loads, so it gets the requirement of 3 pieces of hardware i.e. the 3D Connection 3D mouse, the Oculus Rift DK2, and the Leap Motion device to play this one demo probably meant that there was not very many people could play it. I got a lot of the students to test it. I got a lot of friends and colleagues and various bits and pieces. You can see the Oculus rendering of grab cubes in there. As I said, there was supposed to be an ex-student doing a visual layer. This is at best programmer's art on an embryonic core loop of a game. So I guess I'll show it to you in a minute, but it is definitely not a polished piece of 3D game. So yeah, before we move on, one of the interesting things about this project is that it used procedural package to generate the landscape. So I used this software called Structure Synth by a genius of a guy that is Michael Christensen, and he has built both a 3D fractal renderer / explorer called Fragmentarium, and he has also built Structure Synth. Now I love 3D fractals, obviously. I love normal Mandelbrots, but 3D they're even nicer. But this Structure Synth is even more peculiar. It uses design grammar approach with Erlang. No, Erlang is not. Give me a sec. Built-in JavaScript interpreter, Eisenstein engine. So there is this language inside Structure Synth, which you give it code, and it's a recursive rule triggerer. So you give, with about 20 lines of code, and I have very little idea as to the subtleties of this code, and then a seed, and as you continuously change the seed, you generate an infinite amount of different recursions of these images, and this thing creates pretty staggeringly beautiful, as far as I'm concerned, images that I've used in a previous project for landscape or for environments, particularly this tablet system. And in this particular project I also went and did the same. If one was to Google Structure Synth images, this is when things can go terribly wrong when you put a live Google search of images, but the renderers, like, there is pretty complex structures that this thing can produce, and when you throw a ray tracer in there, it really does some pretty interesting structures. So I guess not to pose people, there you go, can't go wrong, but these cubes, instances of all these cubes are made by Structure Synth. So without too much more meandering, I don't know if the HDMI audio of this is going to go. Yes. Apologies for that. And I'm guessing, since I'm at that, let me just make sure that the speed, yes, it's at the correct. So the magic is that Unity allows you to integrate all of this hardware without too much code, and without doing too much complex interactions. I managed to get this project going. So that's me with a 3D mouse moving. I coded that little green annoying guy that keeps hitting me. And the Oculus, the Leap, has to be restarted. Beautiful. I think perhaps because I have the visualizer open, let's go just once more. I had seen that the lead control panel wasn't on, except the visualizer works, not a problem. Let me pause. And this is working, I hope. Yeah, so there's my hand. You can see an image down here. If you like, that is what the infrared camera sees. And every time that little guy manages to hit me, the number goes up. So there is an embryo of a core loop. I also coded these little dudes. They go grabbing these cubes. And what I can do is also grab the cubes. So there is full rigid body physics. So I can play yo-yo with them. And there's a few 3D positional sounds. I guess I can lob it. I can catch it in midair. And it is sort of the pinch gesture is what is using, is effectively the distance between index and forefinger or any other finger. You can see a little bit that if I move the other fingers, but it becomes kind of quite cumbersome pretty quickly. So then I had gotten to this point and I thought, let's try and go maybe to the next part, and I placed these. Can you see the grey volume, the grey box there? Let me turn down the volume if that was okay. Is it the, oh, thanks. Okay. I dropped the cube. So there's my target point. This is where the Oculus implementation becomes nice because you get that sense of depth. So I've activated one trigger, and then before those guys grab all the cubes, they keep going after the cubes at random. I go find, there's my second one. Let go, no, he has it, there you go, that's something, when they grab it, and eventually he will let go. Go on, drop it. I want to add voice operated commands. I was thinking the other night going scram, and when you say scram, there you go. Please let go. And let me find target 3. Now again, I know this by heart, so I know even where to position myself for my victory condition, which is this little flash of fireworks. And the particle systems, again thanks to Unity, is also collider based, so I can make those particles bounce. And each of the targets has an audio, the same audio emitter. So when I'm closer to here, that second layer is loud, and when I'm far away, there's only one layer of audio. And the nice thing is that you can nudge them, like the hand is a full rigid body. And I guess one of the things was that trying to use your hands as an actual controller itself to move. I've seen a few demos where they did that, and you just get really tired of always keeping your hand and trying to do all this stuff, whereas I really found this as it's supposed to be for 3D modeling. So you've got your 3D model in the middle and you've got your pen, and you rotate the 3D model and it becomes like carving. Or for Unity you can use it inside Unity. So I bought it as an editing tool, but then this gentleman, as in the whole Unity community, produced a plugin for free that also had a runtime component to its API, and you know, make a game with this whole leap side of things. I think it gives you 6 axes, so by pulling it upwards you go up, down, forward and back, and you can then tilt. I've turned off roll because you can already do this, and when you do this in leap motion in Oculus, you will, a good few people had to sit down after they did that. So, but yeah, there is full loop-to-loop. This is just a standard Unity particle system, and I just turned the collider on this one just to see if it would work. Now, okay, so that's Grab Cubes. It's available on itch.io for download if anybody has the hardware. What I would like to do with it, there is this type of interface they've started to do with Leap mounted, and you can see it there. So you go like this, and it superimposes to your arm. So maybe something on the line of that. Or this other gentleman has written a plugin, as a piece of script for Unity. I don't play that much shooting games, but whereby, I don't think he shows, whereby the Leap mounted on your Oculus or can track retroreflective markers. So you're not only tracking your hands, but any retroreflective marker can also be tracked. So I would like to put a retroreflective marker on this device, so that then when I have my Oculus on me, and I don't know where the device is because I've been doing all this type of stuff, by looking down, the retroreflective marker is tracked by Oculus, so are my hands. I could then see my hands in the Oculus VR approaching, and when the hands touch the area of the retroreflective marker, the hands disappear, and I guess something on the line of, where was that guy? Anyway, something on the line of that dome that you were seeing for the planetarium appears, so you know that you are now in controller mode. Another thing I would like to do is turn those little purple guys. At the moment it's a script that I hacked of every 8 seconds restart this coroutine, and if a number of flags are set to true or false, either go grab a cube or else drop your cube, or else pick a random location on the nav mesh, go to that location, then check again. So they refresh every 8 seconds, so quite often they just do very daft things like approach a cube, then the 8-second ticks and they just go, nah, I won't bother, and they go back. So maybe use a behavior designer or behavior machine, which are 2 behavior design, behavior tree systems for Unity. Behavior machine is free, and try and do some bit of better AI design for those little bots, so that they do something slightly more engaging. Then maybe with the hand you could swat one of them away or whatnot. So yeah, that's about it, I think. Yeah.
Can you grab a cube with 2 hands?
I haven't not tried. Now the grabbing of the cube, as I was saying, is a pinch that the Leap recognizes as a motion, and then it does a sphere cast around your hand. Any rigid body object that is intersecting that sphere gets linked by a spring joint to your hand. So the physics rigid body of the collision of the hand would be possibly doable. Like you can actually carry, you can do a computer. This is an old, no, this is the Oculus. Anyway, I think it should work. Let's, no, this is going to be way too slow. Come on, help disappear. I think I have put scale multiplied by 2 on the hands. So I think it's going to be very difficult for them to be close by, but we're almost there. No, I'm going to try it in the other demo. You can grab them with one hand, but I think 2 hands, when you get in the leap, the closer the 2 hands get, because it is just a 2D camera, it gets very confused, especially this type of hand position. You're occluding all the fingers. Ultimately, it's just 2 cameras in there. They try to triangulate your finger positions. So once you go away from this, it goes a little bit bananas. Already when it has to track 2 fingers, it goes a little bit crazy. When you start overlapping the hands or even turning them around, he starts getting confused as to where your thumb. But they are improving their tracking algorithms. I think one of the last things that I wanted to show before we maybe go back to questions is, it took me a long time to get the nav mesh of this. The nav mesh is the navigation layer of where those little pink or the purple dots, they use the blue part there to navigate. And on top of each, actually, why not? Apologies. Am I okay for time?
Yep. We can go to the questions section.
I just want to show this one thing. Yeah, so 3D Connection mouse works inside Unity, and those blue, light blue areas are the area where the bots can navigate, and those arches are the off-mesh links that Unity generates. So when the little purple guys jump from one area to the other one, most of them were generated automatically by Unity, but it wasn't connecting the whole graph fully. So I had to go and hand position. You see all these link start, link end, and I did it quite randomly. I would just place one link start here, and you can see there's an arrow shooting off from it, and the link end is on this one. So I tried to make sure that none of these blocks were dead ends. So the little purple guys can effectively go anywhere. Questions?
How long did it take you to make the game?
About 4 or 5 sessions of 1 or 2 hours each, kind of thing.
Great. Yeah.
It was really spare time only when school and dead ends, and then the odd bit of playing with it in school. And yeah, if I don't maximize that, oh well. Anything? Anybody else?
How much control do you actually have with your hand? I see it's just a pinch, like, but do you have any more control like, of what you can do with your hand?
There you go. Well, that's backwards because this is now for leap motion. Like in the visualizer, you could code your own gestures, and if you go on the leap motion webpage, people are doing all sorts of. Often enough, it loses track of the individual fingers, so you end up having to do this funny gesture so that it just catches the open hand. It will track individual fingers, no problem, I guess I'm going to close this because the navigation of the guys is. But the leap, like, it's pretty. But then again, once you start going into this type of stuff, there you go. He's lost. You can't give the finger with it really. If the two fingers are quite, you know, or opposing the thumb, can be a nightmare for it. You could, like typing or playing the piano. I think this thing was originally devised that you were supposed to be substituting your mouse and keyboard in a 2D window kind of thing. But some people are now using the actual camera data, so they're not using the internal leap finger tracking system. They're doing visual image tracking with the images instead, just doing shape recognition. Again, the tracker, so you can see that it's an infrared camera. So if you have something that reflects light, it will shine very bright in the infrared, and the retroreflective marker gets really bright, and some guys have made that type of plugin for the leap. Nimble was supposed to be the next generation. It effectively is laser based, so it's like Kinect, but Oculus went and bought them after Facebook bought them. So we'll see. I tried to email the Nimble guys to say, would you donate a prototype version of Nimble to the college just for experimenting, and they said we are not allowed to talk about what we're doing. So, sorry, we can't say anymore. Any?
Will this gameplay here be uploaded, will it?
Pardon?
What you did just there, will that be uploaded, will it?
The itch.io webpage, the one that I showed at the beginning, if you do grab cubes, Sergio, on itch.io, which is a big million of free games, it should, so grab cubes, itch, except this is the only thing that will make you move in there. That's a bit of a, there it is, grab cubes by Sergio for Leap Motion 3D Jam. Anyway, this particular one is €80. There are beautiful ones that I thought I had got to college to buy those, but these ones arrived instead. They're all called the same, well, similar products, 3D mouse. So there is this guy. Yeah, you could probably pilot the Enterprise with that. He's got loads of buttons, but yeah, this is the minimum. I actually was surprised that when I came into the Google offices in here, there is a Google Earth. There is a plugin of Google Earth for this, and at the door, I noticed the little blue glow, and I was like, wow, they have one too. I thought I was one of the few, but yeah, there's one of these out there on Google Maps, and you pull up, and it'll do all the Google Maps navigation with the 3D mouse. Yeah, the version on each is the Oculus version. So if anybody wants to try, it's the direct rift for DK2. So it would, you get the sense of depth when you're moving the hand. So to actually put the cubes in those little grey areas, it's somewhat easier because you've got, otherwise in that view there, you don't really have a sense of how far you're pushing.
How long can you play without feeling dizzy?
I'm surprised that I don't get VR sickness now. I have not done, I think, I have not gone through the few hours. I've played, there's the one with the leaves. It's all cel-shaded, cartoony looking, and you can climb big mountains. It's a really nice game, cartoony, kind of Zelda look. and you shoot these harpoons. And I played that one quite a bit.
Pro youth.
No, it's very Windlands.
Yeah.
Windlands. I played Windlands a good bit, and then somebody came into the room in the school and tapped because I was, and that was not good. And I've seen the students play Aliens Isolation. I looked at the beginning, but I did not meet the alien. But I've seen both my brother-in-law and a few students meet the alien in Oculus, and they jumped off the chair. You know, it was a big jump, because then they use these little hints that the alien is coming. I think they start using some shaders where it gets darker. So I heard the students start going, oh, something's going wrong, something's going wrong. And next thing he just leapt off the chair because the alien had got him. So yeah, I have not spent, plus one could argue DK1, DK2, commercial version, higher resolution, 2 screens in the full version. Should be nice, HTC version of the Vive or whatnot. John Romero says it's a fad, but I guess it's going to be a good fad. Colleges, as long as colleges buy the equipment, we'll have things to play with. I think it's going to be interesting more for installation type of things, especially with the Kinect used as a live tracking device. You could have kind of medium-sized rooms with props placed, and if the Leap can track retroreflective markers, you could actually place a styrofoam handle, and that would track as a full-fledged lightsaber or whatnot. Yeah?
So is Ballyfermot planning to introduce all this stuff into the program now, or is it just...
I am doing that. Yeah, I am the coordinator of the H&D in games, and we have this 2-year degree, and I'm hoping that the second year, final year project next year is going to be a fully tracked Kinect 2 augmented, well, VR with markerless tracking of your hands in the gym of the college eventually.
Cool.
Hopefully they're uncabled part. I was looking a little bit at how they're doing HDMI, but you still have the problem of the positional camera. But once the commercial version of Oculus comes out, it could be fun. Yeah. Last questions? No? Okay, thanks a million. Who doesn't have Google Cardboard by this stage? Who would want one?
Cheers.
Anybody else? I just turned off.
So thank you everyone for being here today. We don't have much time left, so I'm not going to talk about I think essentially I showed at the start of this meetup. The next meetup is going to be the 27th of August at Daiquiri office on the Liquor Bank. I'm not sure what queue.
St. John's Riders and Skate.
Yeah, we can put an event on meetup page, I think, not on Eventbrite this time. What else? If you have anything to show, drop me an email. We on Facebook, Twitter, even 3Dcamp.eu for European Union. So find us, subscribe, and see you next time. Thank you. If you want to talk to each other, I think we have a few minutes left, right? While we're going to put all the chairs.
Before you back it up, can I try?
I turned it off.
Oh, okay.
I'm so sorry.
Yeah, that's
But yeah, I should. Again,
Yeah?
This guy, or each
I've never tried actually.
it's an interesting device,
So
because
you
you can
turn-
push down as well, and then to go forward is like that.
Okay. Oh, you can do translation as
Yeah,
well.
yeah, yeah.
Okay.
And they use
Yeah.
the
All
so
right.
6 axes, and then there are 2 buttons on this one, whereas the other ones, because then to pull up sometimes, you get. Whereas the ones with the rest
Yeah, so
are
you can
meant
pull
to be
without
yeah.
Okay.
They are meant to be specific for 3D models.
Okay. So how do you
3D connection online. There is the shop.
I'm trying to find out. Can I get this kind of data within the browser? Do you know?
On that application form,
How do you read the data from the device to get
There's
it?
a lot of SDKs. There's one for Photoshop, one for 3D Max. There is also a full plugin of linking gestures to mouse key to button press, alt button press. So you can make your own translator from what those axes. So you could theoretically play a game. But then the Unity plugin. There is a plugin for Unity that does